Hey everyone, thanks again for tuning in to the Blind Banter podcast. My name is Lorne and I'm joined with my co-host Carlos. How are you doing today, Carlos?
Not too bad, Lauren. Glad to be
Aw-
here. Unfortunately, we
Awesome.
missed last week, but I think we have a pretty good topic tonight.
Yes, we're actually talking about relaxation and recreation and how we wind down with some of the challenges that we face with both going, traveling with guide dogs, canes, having to always be on our tippy toes and trying to figure out how to get back and forth from point A to point B and some of the challenges. So
Yeah,
let's start with Carlos.
yeah. I mean, I think this is a very relevant topic because obviously, people in general, anyone, regardless of your ability, disability, has suffered increasingly from depression, from anxiety, and I think that there's a large amount of it is, we could go into the causes and we'll talk for a long time about it, but this isn't about the causes. This is more about how you can treat it, especially if it's not. If it's just something where you need to relax, you work a high stress job. I mean, obviously as blind people, we have to be, like Lauren said, on our tippy toes. And me being like, at a school where I'm competing with some of the best people around and I'm blind, sometimes I do feel like I'm at a disadvantage. But what I do instead of, complaining about it or sitting around is I like to put it in my best foot forward and then relax afterwards. And one of the tools that I've used recently is meditation. You can, I mean, I won't really go through how to do it because you can find a guide online. Just Google meditation and, you can find different ways that'll work for you. But I just want to tell you some of the benefits because I started using it probably a year ago at the suggestion of one of my friends. And at first I thought it was stupid. I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and just do nothing for 20, 30 minutes at a time. Like, that's a waste of my time. I'm a math person, so I calculated how much time I'd waste on a yearly basis. So like, I thought that was stupid. And I was like, I'm not wasting this much of my time. But then I realized one day I was just sitting around and I tried it. I tried one of the things she told me, and man, I was relaxed. Like it really helped me after, I was stressed out because I had a bunch of assignments to get done. And I was like, I can't waste any time. I gotta do this. But I just kind of tried it because, I already wasted a lot of time. I might as well just waste a little bit more. And it actually worked for me really, really well. And like I said, you can go online, find different ways that'll work for you. But no matter what it is, no matter if you have a high stress job or whether you're just stressed out because of your family or whatever situation you're going through, I think that's a really, really good first resort is to try and meditate on it, because it really does improve the outcomes. I know that the Navy SEALs are using it now to increase their focus. And to me, that kind of definitively, to some extent, proves it to me that it does work. And, the military is willing to use it. There must be something there. Lauren, share one of your techniques.
So just a question, are you talking about just regular meditation or transcendental meditation, or TM as they
No,
call it?
regular meditation. I just kind of sit down and try to clear my mind. I don't know if that's transcendental or not. I don't go like the hum or anything like that. It's pretty quiet. Like to me, that's kind of like the way that I try to clear my mind because I'm a very fast thinking person and I think a lot, right? So it's just a chance for me to say, okay, let me take a moment, stop trying to think about everything, stop trying to solve all of my problems all at once, right? And just relax. Just try to focus on nothing, which seems kind of counterintuitive and counterproductive. But when you're trying to focus on nothing as hard as possible, it's like the white bear, right? Try to think as hard as you can. Try not to think as hard as you can of a white bear. Well, it's not going to work, right? But that's kind of the goal, right? Because when you're trying to focus on nothing, it makes it so much easier to focus on whatever it is that you're focusing on when you're doing work. And so that's kind of what I practice. Go
Well,
ahead.
TV is very similar to that, right? Because a lot of the time, that's why they call it literally the boob tube, where you just kind of park yourself in front and you can watch whatever reality shows, as long as you're not watching something, I guess, about nature or where you really have to think. If you just throw some mindless chatter on, it's the same thing. You're doing a wind down where you don't really have to think and you don't really have to, tune in or view it so much. You can just kind of just sit there and let the time pass and kind of let the brain somewhat calm down. But being someone with ADD, meditation isn't the best for me because I don't think linear ways. So kind of how I think, and I know a lot of people with ADD think the same way, is that we have this like word bank whizzing around and we just pull it out from from the air, and we kind of form our sentences that way. So we're not always, I guess, the quote unquote normal way of thinking. So having that type of thing happening all the time, you definitely do get really tired, and you definitely do need to maybe relax and just, well, I find I get a lot of fatigue from having to deal with that on a daily basis, and trying to do any type of speeches or those types of things. I can't really write it all out and then, read it verbatim on the page. I have to put bullet notes, and then as I have the topic, then I can kind of just, I guess, almost ad lib, but still have somewhat of an idea on what I'm talking about. And I find that that works really well for me. But I'm very lucky to, in our yard, we have a gazebo now. So I'm able to just to kind of go outside and just sit outside, throw on a podcast of, again, mindless whatever, and either learn or just, it's usually learning of some sort, maybe history or finance or politics, and then being able to kind of understand and just try to relax, I guess. So that's what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do that a lot as well. Although for me, it's books. I use VoiceOver to listen to a book. And most of the time, I'm not listening to it per se. I'm just kind of trying to, unless I'm, reading it for school or it's something that I'm actually interested in. It's usually a rehash of something I've read in the past. And it just helps me unwind a little bit because, no matter what, right? All of us have problems. And this isn't to like disregard anyone or to say like, everyone has problems, deal with it. No, that's not what I'm saying. It's more like everyone has these, the way I like to think about it when I have a particularly serious problem, right? Might it be whatever it might be for me. Maybe it's that I've never failed a test, but I just want to put that on the record more. But like, let's say I fail a test.
No comment.
Right? Let's just say I fail a test, right? And for me, if you're in high school or in college, that might be existential for you. You might be like, oh my God, it's over. I'm going to work at McDonald's for the rest of my life. Whatever. Right? I mean, maybe you aspire to work at McDonald's.
Just saying, McDonald's has full benefits.
Right.
They have full benefits and some of the best training programs.
Okay. All right. You're going to work you're going to be a cash collector for the rest of your life. Whatever. Regardless. The point is, it might seem existential at that point, right? And it's really hard to distance yourself and to step back and go, you know what, this is really just a bump in the road when you look at the bigger picture, right? But I think that's another thing that I like to do as well, is look at the bigger picture, because no matter how serious or problematic the current situation looks, there's always a bigger picture. There's always more to it. And there's always more opportunities ahead, right? Sometimes failure in one direction just means that you have to take another path that might end up being more fruitful, right? Just like a route. If you want to go get something, as blind people, we probably have several routes planned out that we can use with our guide dogs. Like, okay, if they close this street and we can't go by safely, then we're going to have to take another street, right? Unless, I personally, that's what I do. Hopefully you do the same, because if the route is blocked, the single route is blocked, then, you're kind of
done.
It's
always good to have a backup plan.
Exactly. And so that's kind of how life is too, right? You might run into you might be like, I really want this job. If I get this job, everything will be great, right? That's kind of how college is sold to you nowadays. Like, you get into this school, you get into Harvard. No, disrespect to Harvard, but you get into this school, your life is set. But that's just not the case, right? And it's the same way. If you don't get in or get whatever you were expecting, then your life isn't destroyed, right? It may just be an alternative. And like I said, in the grand scheme of things, it's a bump in the road. And one of the ways that I like to calm down and to, take a step back is just to kind of sit back and listen to a book and, just try to avoid this whatever it is that I'm focusing on too much. Try to avoid that for a little bit, because it seems, like I said, it seems counterintuitive. Like, this is a huge problem. I need to solve it. And you want me to avoid it? Yeah, because what you're doing right now is like a rat in a cage. You're running back and forth, and pretty soon you're going to start chewing your paws instead of trying to open the door. And that's kind of the way I look at it, right? Is I don't want to chew my paws. I want to try to open the door and get out. And what I'm doing, especially right afterwards, is not really leading me towards that. So take a step back, listen to a book. For some people, it might be music. For some people, it might be a walk in the park. Whatever it is, you just need to do something different. Now, Lauren, I want to talk a little bit about sleep because I know I've seen these commercials before about this pill that supposedly helps blind people sleep because they don't have what do you call it? They don't have
Oh,
like
the
match.
the circadian rhythm.
Yes. Have you tried it? Or I've been kind of curious because I've had sleep issues, but I also feel like that's because I'm just a very crazy person. I'm like, it's not because I'm blind. Um,
So that wouldn't work for me because I do have enough vision to be able to tell when there's sunlight. So for
mm-hmm.
me, I know that I need to sleep in the evening. Well, try
Yeah.
to sleep in the evening and then sleep through it. So for me, my body already knows when it's daylight and when it's nighttime. And that really kind of just helps people that are either new to blindness or that have their circadian rhythm kind of, I guess, messed up for whatever reason. Because I know that there are a lot of people that are fully blind that have no issues knowing what time it is. Maybe they may not necessarily be able to see it, but they can get their mindset in the time frame. And okay, well, I know it's 8 p.m., 9 p.m. I know it's gonna get dark. Obviously, a little early, like a little earlier in the wintertime, but they can kind of, I guess, self-regulate it. And that's for people that really can't self-regulate. And that supposedly is, I guess it tricks the circadian rhythm to be able to do that. And you take that a couple hours beforehand so that when it does kick in, it kind of triggers the circadian rhythm. Now, I'm nowhere near a medical professional, so it could be completely off, but from the a little bit of research that I've done on pills that are of that type, that's kind of what they do.
So do you not? Because I've had some issues sleeping, and one of the things that I like to do is just have something on in the background quietly and use my timer on my phone. It has like a stop playing feature. So whether it be a podcast or a YouTube video, because sleep is probably one of the most important things you can do. And I have a sleep tracker now. You can get one on an Apple Watch. There are a lot of different fitness trackers, Fitbits. I know that work. Can't really speak to the Fitbit's accessibility, but from what I understand, it's relatively accessible. But regardless, right? I try to collect data on my sleep because I feel like that's one of the things that also makes us a little bit more or less anxious as well, and prone to have mood swings or whatever the case might be. Is just how much sleep you have, and for me at least, this idea that more sleep is better is not exactly true. After about
No.
7.5 hours, I start to have far diminishing returns. Like, just to give you an example, yesterday we went canoeing, right? We canoed 7 miles up a river. And I was dead tired that night. I mean, I went to bed at 11:30, and you would think, I might sleep 9, 10 hours, maybe even 12 hours. I woke up at, I think it was 7:30, because that's all I needed. I only needed 8 hours. If I'm especially tired, I need 8 hours. If I'm not tired, I only need 6.5. And I learned that from my sleep tracker. Right? It really shows you how much sleep you really need and how recovered you are from yesterday. And I think that it's very important for everyone to do that because oftentimes we just kind of disregard our sleep. Our society is very sleep deprived. We, at least in my world, like it's a badge of honor. Like, oh, dude, I only sleep 4 hours a night. I used to have this saying like, I'll sleep when I die. And that was, to some extent that works, but it only worked for so long. And then you start to have other issues, like I said, more anxiety, more problems like that. And finding an optimal sleep pattern is really helpful. Lauren, do you have any tips on sleep, or do you just kind of sleep like a baby every night?
I'm the worst person because I actually do have issues sleeping. It's just with the fatigue, and I can sleep like a champ, but I can't hit my REM due to mild sleep apnea, apparently. So I've tried the machine and things like that, but it just really doesn't work. So I'm always in a constant state of fatigue, which...
So are you allowed to snore?
Not really. I snore from time to time, but I'm not severe to the point of where I'm super loud or anything like that. There are nights, apparently, well, according to my wife, that I don't snore at all. So take it for what it's worth. But I've had this for many years. And really, the only thing that really puts me to sleep is running around with a 7-month-old trying to keep some form of sanity in the house.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you not sleep even now?
Yeah, exactly. But if I sleep, like if I have a nap during the day, I'm pretty much up all night until at least 2 or 3, even if it's a 30-minute or a 40-minute nap. It can really destroy how I sleep.
You be
I
up all night
find
like
that
Drake.
sure, I'll believe you. And so even putting my daughter back to bed, if I have to, do an 11:30 or like say, for example, she wakes up at 1 and I have to give her the bottle, there's a 50-50 chance that I won't be falling back asleep until 5 and she wakes up at 6 anyway. So it's kind of hit and miss for me. I find that a nice day of fishing, we were actually in a canoe on Wednesday as well. We were in a little yellow Sports Pal 14-footer, my father-in-law and I, and we went fishing. Now, we're not as hardcore as you are. We put a little trolling motor on the back, so we can actually, because you can't really, row and fish at the same time.
Yeah.
And so we like to have something relaxing. We don't like to, break a sweat unless it's really windy out.
It was a workout for us.
Well, exactly. So that's kind of one thing that I find kind of helps me go to sleep, is a lot of physical activity during the day and being able to,
yes,
I guess, exert myself. May it be sunshine or may it be whatever type of activity. But as long as my mind is busy, then I find that I can sleep somewhat better during the night.
Yep, and that's perfect because it pivots into my next topic, physical exercise. That is one of the biggest things that I recommend. For me, I've always been a fat person, and not as in fat, I'm like obese, but more as in I eat a lot. I do, I'll get the triple cheeseburger, and it's hard for me to control my appetite. But one of the things that I also like to do is exercise a lot. And that really helps, obviously, with sleep, like Lorne was saying. It really puts me to sleep like a baby when you work out for 2 hours, doing, weightlifting, and then you do like 30 minutes of rowing, just fall right into bed. But it also helps control a lot of the excess energy that you have, worrying about problems or stressing about something, right? Because you put a lot of that excess energy into, my dad always says, like, I'm too busy to be depressed. And that seems kind of like not sympathetic, but he has something there where if you really have put a lot of your energy into working out or, doing some kind of physical thing, you really start having less and less energy to be stressed out. Things just don't stress you out as much because they can't. And so that's kind of one of the tactics I like to do. Now, a lot of us, and this is me a few years ago, right? We might not have money for a gym. We might not have transportation to the gym, right? There are so many ways that you can keep yourself active even at home. I mean, back when I was 14 and I started, working out a little bit more seriously, I used to jog in place. Just literally, move my arms up and down, fold my elbows in, and, as though I was reaching for a cherry. We call them cherry pickers when I was a wrestler. And just literally jog. You might look stupid. I mean, I probably do. But it helps you get some kind of physical exercise. And you don't need any space, right? And, maybe you can invest $30 into some resistance bands and you can incorporate some resistance training into your workouts, right? There's all kinds of different activities. So I never like to hear that, oh, it's because, of this, I can't run out in the streets. That's why I don't work out, or I don't have the money, right? There's always ways to do it for free. I mean, do some push-ups, right? Go to the local playground and do some pull-ups on the pull-up bar that they have there. They always do have a little jungle.
I don't have money for the right Nikes. That was one of the best I've heard in my life. It's like,
are you serious?
Oh, yeah. I was talking to them and he's literally telling me, I would totally work out more, but I just can't afford the good Nikes. And I'm going, wait, what?
Oh my God. Well, Nikes nowadays, if you're a serious runner, they do actually help you run faster. But that's the thing, right? Here's another thing that I want to talk about when it comes to workout stuff. There's a lot of high-priced stuff out there. And just because your favorite athlete wears it or has it, doesn't mean it'll help you guys. It helps with marginal, like those shoes. I don't remember what they're called, but I know that they did help one person run. And I think like some running federation actually banned them in races because if not everyone wears them, like you're putting yourself in an advantage that's unfair apparently. Anyways, but the thing about that is if you're starting out and you're like, man, I need to have these $200 shoes that help, so-and-so run faster. You don't, okay? They're not going to help you. You're starting out. You're probably not going to be able to run at their pace, let alone for as long as they run, right? You really, all you need is a basic pair of running shoes, which when I started doing this, I got mine for $30. Were they nice? No. Were they high quality? No. But did they
Did they
work?
get the job
Yes.
done?
Exactly. They got the job done. They did everything I needed to. And there's always ways to, nickel and dime it, guys. At first, what I had to do was I just did the cherry picker things barefoot, like that's how it was. I didn't have as much money growing up, and there's always solutions to whatever it is, right? Get somebody who once you have running shoes, get somebody who ask your friend group, put it out on Facebook even. Is there anyone who'd be willing to run with a blind person? No, I do recommend you do a little bit of exercise beforehand, just because at least me being me, I don't want to run with somebody and be like a guy who's not, they're hauling around. But find someone once you get some kind of cardio in. Find someone, and there's so many runners around that I'm sure one person at least, if even if you live in a city or a town at that point with 10,000 people in it, you're gonna find one person who's gonna go, yeah, you know what, we'll run with you. And all you need is I used a shoestring when I started, shoelace, just tie it up into like a circle, and have one person take one side and the other person take the other side, and you just run behind them, right? It's perfect.
Yep.
You don't need any excess gear. So again, right, there's so many solutions. I mean, if you guys need any more, email me. I'm the king of putting together little things like this because I didn't always have as much money, and you need to improvise. So, but there's always a way to get exercise. And my gosh, I mean, the physical benefits are obviously good, right? I'm never going to be Michael Phelps looking like a bodybuilder, and I got abs, and people are like, oh my god, no, I'm never going to be that. But at least I know that I'm not going to be obese either, because I can still eat the triple cheeseburger, but I can also burn it off afterwards. And that's probably the most important thing, let alone the stress reducing benefits. What about
Well,
you?
look at Pele. When Pele first started out, he literally had a ball of rags. He didn't have soccer shoes. He didn't have cleats. He didn't have any of this stuff. He literally just
Yeah.
went out there and kicked it. And after he finished, they kept trying to give him all these endorsements. And there was many times where he goes, I'm just going out and getting a $30 pair of shoes because these are infinitely better than what I originally had. So I don't need all this fancy equipment to do it. And you can also there are many different running associations all over the place. I'm sure there are many in the US like there is in Canada, but you can always contact them and say, hey, is there any type of running programs that I could take advantage of? Or is there some way that, there's something accessible? And if there isn't, you may be able to help them create an accessible program, which then, you can advocate and get more and more people doing it. There's a fishing organization here called Bassmasters, and they're really good because I know a few people that are completely blind and they go fishing in tournaments with sighted anglers, and it works out really, really well because the sighted guides will drive the boats and get them all together, but these blind guys can fish really well, and they can pretty much do everything else, just not drive the boats and then the vehicles to get there. So there are so many different programs that you can take advantage of, and really Google is your friend at that point. You can contact a local, like for example, if you're into running, contact a local running group. They may not have anything on their website, and who knows, you may not have, or you may be the first one ever to ask them if they do some form of that for people with disabilities. But even if they don't offer it and they're not willing to do that, you can always contact your local disability organization. Here in Canada, we have the CNIB, the Canadian National Institute of the Blind, as well as the Canadian Council of the Blind, and some of their chapters and programs are they're designed specifically for people with disabilities. So I know a few people that run triathlons, and I know a guy that runs every year in Death Valley, and he's completely blind. So, obviously, you may not want to go that extreme. You may just want to be able to run for a little while and call it good. But there are so many different ways of doing it. And realistically, like you were saying earlier on how you were running kind of in place, who cares what people think of you? At the end of the day,
just do your house. I don't even know,
Exactly. And for beginners, the equipment really doesn't matter because you won't be able to utilize it to its full potential. initially, and B, shoes, golf clubs, all those things, they may be really good and they may have really high quality and they may be
Golf
designed for
clubs?
specific things. Oh, geez,
Where
dude.
did that come out of? Oh no,
Well,
no. Oh,
no,
I see what you're saying.
because I know
You were saying
so
you need
many
a golf
people.
clubs for working out. I was like, I don't think you do, bro.
Well, actually, if you do get the blind set of golf clubs, they do make one, and they've got little sonar chips in the ball, so they'll actually beep when you get close enough to them, so that blind people can do that. Now they're a couple
Really?
$1,000 for the set, but you've got to be really seriously about golfing. But again,
I
for
like to
just
play golf with other Wall Street people.
you actually could. So, but it's not going to necessarily help you with your game if you're not at that specific level.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's why going to thrift shops, using Craigslist, Kijiji in Canada, Facebook Marketplace, there are a lot of hyper
Craig doesn't
local
go to
groups.
Canada?
Well, Craigslist is very small in Canada. But if you look on, like, for example, we have a buy nothing group in our specific area. It's very hyper local, just to our community. About 20 minutes in either, well, a little less than 20 minutes in either direction of where I am is kind of our little area or our neighborhood. And you can easily jump online or, and put a post. Hey, I'm looking for a runner. I'm looking for, used whatever. And there's a very good chance that either someone will be able to say, hey, I've got an extra item here you go, or B, I may not have any, but I know of so-and-so that has one, or this is the best place to look to go ahead and get them. And a lot of the time, if they're already in that group, they'll know of the local swap meets and the local kind of, I guess, flea markets for that specific sport. And that's usually where you can get some really high quality items for extremely cheap. Like, for example, a lot of my fishing rods, when I go to look to upgrade them, there are so many different anglers on Facebook Marketplace that are selling $800-900 rods, and you can pick them up for $200-300, and they're usually really well taken care of. And especially if you have a serious angler, they're only going to use them for maybe a year or two, but they're going to treat them really well. And so when you go to buy them, you're getting a quality product for literally a third of the price. So you just have to be creative, and that's really where part of, I guess, the yearning to do it, because you're going to have to think beforehand to set yourself up while you're doing it and afterwards, because if you do a certain thing for a long time, even, if you don't keep up with it, either A, your body's going to yearn for it. Like, one of the big issues is bodybuilders. When bodybuilders are working really hard and they're pumping all that stuff, if they let their body go, it just completely goes, and they have to kind of keep that uptake, or else, I guess, just bad results happen to their bodies. And so I know a few bodybuilders that have said, unfortunately I was doing this as a kid, but now I have to do this in my 60s and 70s, or else my body just turns extremely weak. So there are definitely pros and cons to every sport, but just decide exactly what you want to do and what your passion is, and then go from there.
Right. I have a friend who has difficulty going to the gym. He's like, I'm just bored, And I'm like, you got to find something, man. Maybe it's jujitsu. And obviously, like I said, when you're broke like I was, you don't have this option, right? Maybe you can't afford to go to jujitsu classes or karate or, some kind of running club, whatever. But, make a list of all the things that you can do for free or a low price. And then, see what you like and try them out, Gym memberships are incredibly cheap nowadays. And if you have a nearby gym, you can go. If you don't, like I said, there's so many options. I mean, there's apps now that literally they can put you through a whole workout that works out pretty much everything with a pull-up bar that costs $30 or 20, I think nowadays, that you put over your door. And I thought it was kind of ridiculous.
$10 Facebook Marketplace.
Probably, yeah. Well, that's another thing I wanted to ask you about when it comes to that type of thing. How do you know you're getting something quality, like that's good? You know what I mean? Because as a blind person, how would you know that they're not selling you like some kind of messed up rod for $300?
Yeah, well, I guess if you look at the brand specifically and you kind of know what you're doing, definitely try before you buy, right? You don't want to meet someone in a parking lot and they go, "Oh yeah, this elliptical machine's fantastic." Well, first off, if you're blind, how would you get it home? But B is that
Put it on your guide dog.
yeah, exactly. Bring a little doll in, away you go. But
Right.
just I would say like if you're doing a small purchase, like for example a bar, you can pretty much tell if it's all completely curved up or how good the quality is of it just by feeling it and making sure that everything's okay. But also knowing brands, there are some companies that do give like a lifetime warranty on them, and if you can find that, then you'd be good, because if there's ever an issue with whatever the item is, you can contact the company and say, hey, I'm having an issue with it. Is there something you can do? And if you just ask, a lot of the time they'll work with you to be able to say, okay, yeah, no problems, here you go. So having that type of functionality is always it's always good to definitely just ask them.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd be surprised at how helpful people are. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit, no, not even. I mean, I went to the store the other day and there were some really helpful people. I was going to say, during the pandemic, people might be a little bit more hesitant to interact
Yeah,
with you, but it's definitely not terrible, guys. And more people are willing to help than aren't, I think. So, to recap, because I think we're running close to our limit here, I just want to recap everything. To reduce stress, anxiety, I kind of gave 3 general tips. Meditation, find some way, some way that works for you, that works for your specific style. Maybe it's just relaxing and listening to a podcast or reading a book or whatever, right? Some way. 2, I think it's always really important to take a step back, right? Remember that it seems existential today, but it's just a tiny portion of the whole picture that is your life, right? It really is, guys. No matter how existential it is, maybe you lost your job, right? Like that seems terrible. But things that to me seem existential 10 years from now don't, right? Like when I think about life 10 years ago and the things that I was freaking out about, even 2 years ago, right? I'm like, I freaked out over that. There's so many things, and you have so much to look forward to. So, keep that in mind. And 3, physical exercise of some kind, really, really important. I mean, even if it's just jogging in place every day for 20 minutes, it's boring. I know it's not ideal, right? But the goal is to get to a level where you can do something better, or maybe save up enough money that you can afford something else, so that you can get in a good workout and find something that you're passionate about, because it's good for your physical and mental health.
absolutely. Like
Anything?
if you live in the moment, you'll never see the future.
Yes.
And I feel that it's good to live in the moment from time to time, because if you live too much in the future, you'll never be able to enjoy the now. So I think that trying to find that balance is absolutely key. And I think
Yes.
that absolutely going out and enjoying things around you, no matter how big your city is or how small your town is, there's always little hidden gems all over the place. And may it be just a bus ride away, may it be just a walk away, and who knows, incorporate that into your workout. Okay, well, this point or this lookout or this building or whatever is 35 minutes away. Use that as a walk. Go out there one evening or during the day when you have nothing else to do and just walk it. There are so many local places as well, like I'm not sure if you have them in the States, but we have like the YMCA, and you
Yes.
can go into the drop-in
I look that up a lot.
programs. Yeah, and so you can go there and they're dirt cheap, if not free, depending on your situation. And
Yes.
and 9 times out of 10, if you go up to them and say, hey, listen, I'm on a very fixed income, whatever the case, and you just explain it to them and actually just be honest with them, a lot of
Yeah.
the time they'll be able to point you into a direction on how to utilize their programs for free or extremely cheap. And it may not work so much as like I guess one of the big ones in the States is like Gold's Gym or whatever. Here in Canada, it's like Good Life. It may not work so much that if you go to one of these chain/designer gyms, but for the most part, to be able to work out and being able to learn about different yoga or learn about different ways of weight training or the like the stations, um, I guess circuit training, you don't need super fancy equipment. You can just use whatever the YMCA or whatever the local municipality run gym, because I know here in Ottawa we do have some where the city gym, if you make a certain amount of money, then I think it's only like $20 a month or something like that to
Yeah,
go
we have
in
one that's
and utilize it.
$10.
Yeah, exactly. I know Good Life has a thing where it's fit for less, where you can use just the basic equipment, and it's $10 plus taxes or whatever a month. So yeah, like under $12. So things like that are more than adequate for 90% of people that would do it. It's only the fanatics or that need the specific specialty equipment that
Yeah.
really need to spend that. So don't go out there and say, well, I'm going to use a fancy gym, because you don't really need to do
Not
that.
initially.
And no, exactly. And if something comes up that they have to offer that will really kind of add to it, that's
Make the
fine. Like,
difference. Yep.
exactly. But is hot towels and this and that, and getting a juice bar
Coffee service.
available to you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Is that worth, say, $1,200 a month, or a month, sorry, a year or more? Is it worth it to you? And if it is, great, go ahead and look for it. But if it isn't, and you just want to get exercise, then just spend the $10 and think about it. After that, if you work every, like say twice a week for every month, at the end of the time, you could spend, instead of, if you're spending $10 a month, it's $120. Take the other $1,000, get yourself a trip, and show off your beach bod. It's things like that you can utilize and be able to get more out of the money. But then at the end of the day, you're going to get to the same end goal. One of the local places near me did a Pizza Friday, where if you signed up with them, you get a couple of slices of pizza for free on Fridays. Now, if you're into that, great. If not, you don't need to spend the extra money to do that, because you're there to work out. You're there to lose the calories.
Let me just say that defeats the purpose. And if that ever happens at your gym, you need to walk out. Like you do. Okay? I'm genuinely getting a little angry here, because that's ridiculous.
But
okay?
They only allow you 2 pieces.
One bite. One
Yeah,
bite and pass it,
It's like slider versions of pizza.
Right.
But
Those
yeah,
mini
so
pizzas you get in the Lunchables.
yeah, exactly. Make your own. But yeah, so just definitely look at the basics. Try using the basics. Try using the lowest price available to you, and see if that's really what you want, and see if that's what you need. And realistically, working out or losing weight, all you have to do is burn more calories than you put in. So there are so many different ways, again, like Carlos was saying originally, you can go ahead and Google it, but there is so much information out there on how to, I guess, end up at that specific issue or that goal, that you don't need to even spend, more than $50 initially to start out, to be able to go out and run, to go out and do exercise. If you know a place that has stairs, you can easily do steps.
Yep. They're painful, but they work.
Yeah, exactly. You can, if you have a floor, which I'm sure anybody that's living in a house or in any type of dwelling does have
nope,
access to a floor. Yeah, exactly.
I'm in space.
Yeah, that's right. Lay down, push-ups, sit-ups. There's so many different things that you can do, crunches, and that will really burn the fat, and that will really help you on a daily basis. May it be just for daily maintenance, may it be for losing weight. You don't need anything fancy. You don't need $1,000 equipment. You don't need to blow out on all this stuff. And you don't even need a workout outfit if you're gonna, do push-ups or sit-ups or crunches.
Just get a
So
tank top and some shorts.
you don't even need to get that if you don't want to. But I'm just saying is that if you look
Lorne
at
doesn't have the
something,
body I have. That's why he's not comfortable.
hey, I run to the fridge. Okay, that's how I stay. No, but seriously, I'm always on the move, so I may not lose a lot of weight, but I maintain it.
But he doesn't gain.
Well, yeah, exactly. Who wants a six pack when a cake lasts longer? That's the way I like to think about it.
Who wants a six pack when they can't see it?
Exactly.
Can't even admire it in the mirror,
Well, you can't cuddle with a washboard, right?
Right.
And especially when you have a 7-month-old that wants to climb up on you, well, it's the furry mountain. You're good to go. But so realistically, with all kidding aside, just look at doing the basics. Find out if that's what you want. And if you want something better, add to it. No one's saying it's wrong, but just don't go full tilt all the way. Get burnt out after, say, a month or two and go, well, this is, kind of boring. And I've already signed up for, a yearly gym membership that's going to cost me $300, $400, $500 because I'm on a contract to get out of. I bought all this expensive equipment that I'm just going to put to the side of the room. How many people have treadmills that are collecting shirts and pants on it, right? And they're using it as a storage unit. So there are so many deals to be had on the internet for in your local area from people that were just like you and wanted to kind of go full tilt, but for whatever reason. Yeah, exactly. And then they found out, oh, well, this is difficult. I don't want to do it. But yeah, we are definitely at the time, and I kind of ranted a bit too much. But again, it's just, I always tell people, use the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid, and you'll always be able to get exactly what you want in the end. You'll be able to utilize and penny pinch as much as possible, and you'll get to the end result.
Yeah, well said.
Well, that is our time. So thank you again,
guys.
Carlos, for coming out. And if you guys want to get in touch with us, please definitely send us an email, blindbanter@gmail.com. You can see us at Blind Banter on Instagram, and then The Real Blind Banter on Twitter. And you can find us at Blind Banter on Facebook. So until next time, guys, stay safe.
Thanks, guys.
And we look forward to talking to you guys later.